Yeah. So Laphroaig to me, again, quintessential Iowa. At some point, we'll do the Laphroaig 25-year-old for you.
Dude, that's terrible. That is terrible. It's straight up horrible. Oh my God. It leaves this burnt flesh note.
All right. So next is Laphroaig.
This I'm not looking forward to.
Laphroaig is... I love Laphroaig.
First of all, I've had Laphroaig twice, and I almost died. So I'm not expecting to like this one. I'm really surprised I like Lagavulin, but I'm not thinking that I'll like Laphroaig.
So Laphroaig, when I went to the distillery... Shit, sorry.
Did you just say shit on our podcast?
Yeah, well, I almost just spilled the Laphroaig everywhere because I bumped your arm. So when I went to the Laphroaig distillery, my favorite thing is that as you pull up in their parking lot and get out of your car, and you have to walk past this wall to get into the distillery. And it's probably about 100 feet long, covered in little tiny tiles. And at first, like, some people might just like walk by it. I don't know. But that wall is all reviews that people have left of Laphroaig on Twitter. And so they're straight up like, smells like my grandmother's old socks wrapped around a piece of dirt and then lit on fire. And then like the next tile is like, it reminds me of my grandfather's beard after he'd been fishing all day. And he'd come home and he'd kiss me and I smell like, and then the next one's like, imagine taking a Band-Aid, wrapping it around your tongue and then lighting it on fire. And like, it's like all the worst, most negative reviews you could possibly leave.
And is that specifically about the 10-year?
Yeah.
Because that's the standard,
yeah.
right? Yeah.
And to me, Laphroaig is the quintessential Islay Scotch. As much as people will say that it may not be the best of their standard 10-year-old may not be the best of the Islay whiskeys, I think Laphroaig encapsulates the character of Islay probably the most in terms of brash peat, a strong base spirit, that you just get this funky, medicinal, sweaty socks. You get a little bit of the Band-Aid. If you know what Band-Aids smell like, go get a box of Band-Aids, open them up.
Just sniff it.
Sniff it.
Yeah.
This has a little bit of that. It's got some smokiness to it. It has some iodine, some seaweed flavors. Like,
all right, so I'm going to go on a little tangent here, and this is what the nose reminded me of. So, you know that I work now with agricultural stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
I did a little bit for a long time with marine science as well. I was involved with tuna and shark industry and stuff. But before that even, and we have a cat on the table.
And this is Islay,
This is
by the way.
Islay. The cat is
named after the whiskeys,
Nice.
Appropriately.
So getting back to my story, before I did the marine biology, I taught a lot of nurses. So I was in a lot of nursing programs and I taught human anatomy and physiology. And as part of that, I had to run cadaver labs a lot. Mm-hmm. This whiskey smells like a cadaver.
That's what Sierra says.
It smells like embalming fluid.
Every time I pour... That's so funny. So I have no frame of reference for what that smells like.
It smells exactly like it.
But every time I pour this whiskey, Sierra's like, why are you drinking that? It smells like formaldehyde.
It does, yeah.
And it smells like the stuff we had in biology class, and it's disgusting. So she actually won't let me drink it at the same table that she's sitting at, pretty much.
So we're really selling Laphroaig here. It smells like embalming fluid. But it does. I remember very distinctly, like, running this cadaver lab and just opening the bag and you get this little whiff of it's a combination of the embalming fluid and then I think just like stuff that's going on in that bag, and this smells like that to me. And it's not a good thing. I'm not even gonna try to preface that in any way that's like, no, but it's a good kind of embalming fluid. It's not. It's not an inviting nose. And I compared it to the Lagavulin nose, and it's just I want to sit there and like just sniff the Lagavulin to clear out the Laphroaig.
So Laphroaig to me, again, quintessential Islay. At some point, we'll do the Laphroaig 25-year-old for you.
Dude, that's terrible. That is terrible. It's straight up horrible. Oh my God. It leaves this burnt flesh note.
Tyler's coughing over this.
Like, that is bad. That's what I remember Laphroaig tasting like. That's horrible.
I love it.
I apologize to Laphroaig. I'll write you I should write a review for Laphroaig and say something about embalming fluid because it would probably go well on the wall.
Yeah, it would.
But that to me is really rough. Tyler, you're making a face. Is it a thumbs up or thumbs down on Laphroaig? Yeah.
Thumbs down.
Yeah.
Yeah. What did you think of the Lagavulin? You actually kind of like, that one's okay. Yeah. So, yeah.
I don't even want to take a second sip of that. I'm going to drink more Lagavulin.
Yeah, you don't have to drink a second sip of that. So, Laphroaig markets itself as the most richly flavored of the Islay whiskeys, and
If by rich they mean bad. Yeah, I agree.
I think Laphroaig 10 is the most. Ardbeg is actually smokier, but I don't think Ardbeg's as intense as Laphroaig. Laphroaig's base spirit is just so heavy, in addition to the peat that they're using and it's kind of an experience. And what I find really interesting is people who are Laphroaig fans typically like Laphroaig 10 better than older Laphroaigs because the older Laphroaigs aren't smoky and funky enough for them. So I've had multiple people who I know that like Laphroaig 10 is their favorite whiskey. And they basically, no matter what else I give them to try, from Lagavulin, Bowmore, even older Laphroaigs, like the 16 or the 25, they're just like, I like Laphroaig 10 better. Because, this just isn't smoky enough or, crazy. And to me, I'm like, that. I understand the appeal of Laphroaig 10. I dig it. But it's all over the place. The flavor profile is all over the place. It's so it's distracting to smell because 1 second it smells like sweaty socks and the next second it smells like dirt and then after that it's like you lit your grandma on fire and it's like
you've lit your grandma on fire.
It's just
so okay, there's very few pours that I've had where I've been like,
this is terrible.
I don't know how anybody can drink this. And I didn't get that, even though I didn't really care for the Bowmore 15. I mean, it's fine. I could drink it. And I can see why somebody would drink it. I have no idea on earth why anybody would voluntarily pour themselves 2 ounces of Laphroaig. I really don't. And I'm not even kidding. I don't know how you can drink 2 ounces of that. Tyler, could you drink 2 ounces of that? 2 sips and I'm done.
It's so good.
It's so bad. It's horrible. I don't know how you can drink it. Okay, so here's my thing. I think sometimes people like stuff because it's horrible. And they like it just because it's horrible. And they think because it's horrible, they're cool because they like it. Erica's grandfather loves lutefisk. Have you ever had lutefisk?
What is lutefisk?
Lutefisk is essentially fish jelly. If anybody out there has had lutefisk before, I don't know what they do to it. They treat it in a certain way. It comes in a little jar and it's fish, but by the time you eat it, it's gelatinous and it's disgusting. And I swear to God, that man loved it just because it's horrible. And I tried to eat it. I almost threw up. And he just would sit there and scoop it in his mouth and stare at me and laugh. That's what Laphroaig is. Laphroaig is lutefisk for whiskey.